Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. RISMedia is thrilled to host a series of webinars we call Lessons in Leadership with Dermot Buffini. Dermot is the CEO of Buffini and Company, the gold standard for coaching and training in the real estate industry worldwide. Now, Buffini and Company has a very unique position in this business. They have more agents, they coach and train more brokers than any other company in the industry. Through their coaching and training programs, they help agents, brokers, managers, and owners build great businesses, but more importantly, they help them live fulfilling, better lives. At the helm of Buffini and Company is Dermot Buffini. Under Dermot's leadership, Buffini and Company has trained and coached more than 3 million professionals in 41 different countries. Dermot has been recognized as an RISMedia newsmaker and is a finalist for the San Diego Business Journal CEO of the Year. His commitment to excellence has led the San Diego Union Tribune to recognize Buffini and Company as one of the top workplaces in San Diego. We're honored to have him here today to talk all things leadership with an exceptional guest joining him. In this interview, Dermot will unpack the lessons learned along the journey of a now industry visionary, Phil Soper, the president and CEO of Royal LePage and Bridgemark Real Estate Services, and a past winner of the RISMedia Leadership Award at our annual Power Broker Dinner and Reception. This year, by the way, be held in the backyard of Dermot Buffini in San Diego, California. So please welcome Dermot Buffini and Phil Soper.
Well, thank you, John. We're looking forward to seeing you in San Diego later this year. And welcome to all of you. Welcome back for another session of Lessons in Leadership. And these are great sessions. And the goal of these is just there's no secrets to leadership, but there's lessons. And I believe being a great leader is like being a great parent. Everybody can be one. It's just a matter of what example do you have to work off? What's the model that you learn, the good, the bad, and the indifferent? And we've got a great guest today. As John mentioned, Phil Soper is the president and CEO of Royal LePage. Welcome, Phil.
Great to be here, Dermot. Thank you so much.
Great city of Toronto. So I'm going to give the corporate introduction, and then I'm going to say what I really feel, which is that many of you don't know, but Phil is kind of a big deal. He is recognized as one of the top leaders, not just in the US and Canada, but globally when it comes to real estate. And Phil has a big job as president and CEO, overseeing 20,000 agents. I believe he did over 100 billion in sales in 2020. So it's a busy place, it's a productive place. But more importantly, Phil has also been very influential with their Royal LePage Shelter Foundation. And it's Canada's largest charity focused on eliminating domestic violence and supporting the women and children who fall victim to it. Phil, I've got a load of great questions for you today. I know that's your corporate bio, but I want to tell you guys, Phil is one of the best men I know. He is a rare bird because he's got the combination of high IQ and high EQ. He can understand the complexity of the world, of this industry, but Phil is truly a man of the people. He's great with people and truly beloved by his team. So Phil, we are so excited to have you today, and we're looking forward to digging into what you've learned about leadership on your journey.
Looking forward to the chat.
So let me ask you this, before I get into some questions, how did you get into this crazy business? I know you were in IBM before real estate, but how did you end up in real estate?
Yeah, it's kind of my career has been 3 big blocks. First one was in oil and gas, actually. I grew up in Calgary, the head of, or the center of the Canadian oil and gas industry. It was a brief sort of period after I got out of university, and then I worked for IBM. I was an engineer in the beginning and moved through various leadership roles. The last job I had was the biggest, as they tend to be running their consulting and services business, and they wanted me to move again. And I'd already been in New York once, I'd been in California once, and I had 2 really young kids, and I decided I didn't want to move. And the Brookfield, the parent co of my enterprise, largest real estate company in the world, according to Fortune, was looking for someone to run their relocations business, believe it or not. And it was a big deal back in the day. Not too many real estate companies formally into third-party relocations anymore, but it was a big deal. And so I took a step outside of real estate, outside of IT specifically, and joined a real estate company less than, I guess, 2 years, less than 2 years, about 18 months later, the CEO announced he was retiring, and I got the tap on the shoulder. So it was a very odd way to go, but that was almost 20 years ago. So I've been in real estate a long time.
So let me ask you this: what would you say was the thing that stood out to you between those two industries? What was the
Well, probably more, this might shock people, but probably there were more similarities than there were differences. You had to motivate people. You didn't get anything done without smart people who were willing to throw themselves at tasks. Remember, I was in a big part of my career in IT was in consulting and services. And really, I remind people this all the time. We don't sell houses. We sell our time. And for our time, we're paid a fee, the same way a lawyer, an accountant, or an IT consultant is. And to manage one of those businesses, it's all about acquiring talent. It's putting the systems and technology in place that makes your talent as productive as it possibly can be. And you want to make it fun. You want to create an environment where people are proud to be together. You want to be an it place in an it industry. I will say, Dermot, luck plays a big role in career planning, and just like you were lucky to get in, I would say, to get into the industry you were, and here you are, CEO of the largest coaching company in the world. Real estate coaching company. I was incredibly lucky that I fell into real estate when I did, that I fell into the role I did, and it was a fit for me. I didn't know that. And so very grateful for Lady Luck for steering me in this direction.
Well, just here's the first lesson for anybody, especially if you work with your brother. Never tell them it's luck. Always tell them it's because of hard work, good looks, potential, and talent.
I do tell my board of directors
exactly
plays no role in success. No,
that's a free one. Well, it is the wild west of real estate, but it sounds like, again, those principles are the same, and that's what we're looking for here. It's what are the principles that they apply, whether it's said you're not running, maybe a lot of people are not running an organization that has 20,000 people. Maybe they're running a region, maybe they're running an office, maybe they've got a team, maybe they're just a sole trader, and that's fine. And our goal here is really just to, at the end of the day, it all boils down to self-leadership, and you're only going to grow as much as you grow in your leadership, in your habits, and in your discipline. So let me ask a couple of questions just about
Sure.
leadership in general. But who's a leader you most admire and why?
Maybe, can I cheat a little and
You can do whatever
say
you like.
three?
Oh, you can do whatever you like.
All right, so
I
three people in leadership. And I agree with you, Dermot. Leadership is something we all have to aspire to, whether it's with our kids, with our family, with our business, with our practice. This is not just for generals and presidents. It's something we all need to dip into. So two very personal. One, because I loved a movie. So my first one would be Juror 8. Who's Juror 8, you say? Well, it's Henry Fonda, for those of you who are old-time movie buffs. He was the star of a movie called 12 Angry Men. Old movie, 1957, black and white. But there were certain things in that movie, which I first saw, I think, in business school, that have really resonated with me across the board. The first one would be empathy. Really quick plot summary: 12 men in the days before women were jurors, murder case, and a young Latino man had been charged with murdered. He's 18 years old. He had the empathy to put himself in this kid's shoes and look at things from their perspective. In a murder or in a trial, the jury foreman can call for votes, and it was 11-1 convict. The very first vote, he was the one who did it. And of course, you don't know that, but over the course of the movie, he also displays the second piece of leadership that I take from this movie, which is courage against all odds. 11 people against one. The easy thing to do would have been to go along and just convict. It's one kid, he didn't know him. He could well have done it. The third lesson in leadership is what I internalize. I tend to be one of those quick decision makers. I snap to decisions sometimes. And the lesson from 12 Angry Men and Juror 8 is take all the time that's necessary. Quick decisions are good. No decisions are worse than a partially good decision, or a no decision is often the worst thing you could do. So, I think most CEOs come to decisions fairly quickly, but in certain cases, the deadline may not matter. You need to take the time to get to the right decision. My second one would be very personal because it relates to my grandfather. So there's a fellow named Ernest Shackleton, Sir Ernest Shackleton, who was a famous Antarctic explorer. My grandfather was a famous Arctic explorer in the Canadian Arctic. His story wasn't as dramatic as Shackleton's, and leadership books haven't written, but Shackleton had a failure, an awful failure in trying to cross Antarctica. He was trapped in the ice. And I take some things from all the study of what he did to help his men survive, because they all survived against incredible odds. The first one was optimism. An incredibly optimistic man against all odds. He kept these guys alive in the ice. Remember, the average temperature in the winter in Antarctica is -75. So we're talking about insane conditions. They don't have Gore-Tex. They don't have anything. They have
wool jackets.
Just wool jackets on the ice. The second one is the importance of planning and the importance to throw away the plan when it encounters obstacles and replan. So don't get married to the plan. You need to plan. You need to be detailed. You need to throw them away. And the third one would be courage to make tough decisions, abandoning a ship and going off in a rowboat across the Antarctic Ocean, most dangerous ocean in the world. The third one would relate to personal experience. After university, I wanted an adventure. So I took a job in India, of all places. No connection whatsoever, my family, to India, but I wanted to go somewhere exotic in the developing world. So, and it so happened that the movie Gandhi was released while I was living in Mumbai, what was called Bombay back in the day. And so I became quite fascinated with Gandhi's history, with what he did, which essentially was he was the father of India. So the three lessons I took from that, Dermot, were one, the power in diversity. So India is a nation only in name. They call it the subcontinent. It's huge landmass, and it's actually many different cultures that have over thousands of years have populated this huge part of the world, a continent in all but name. And he brought them together because he realized the power in diversity. The second one was he walked the talk. He was a lawyer. He was successful. He gave it all away. One of the things he wanted to do was end the caste system's rejection of what they called the untouchables, the Harijan, the lowest on the caste. So he adopted their clothing. He wandered the streets. He helped feed them. Even though he's a famous man, the leader of a movement, he got right in there. He was like a leader of an army who walked right to the front on the charge. And the last one and then I'll get off this other leadership thing, was vision. He had a clear vision for what he wanted India to be in post-colonial rule, and he was a great communicator. He communicated that vision to all that said. And I will say, within our company, one of the things I'm most proud of, we do culture surveys, we do pulse checks. We're always asking our people, how are we doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? And we score incredibly high in the high 90s on alignment and clarity. So people know where we're going in our organization, and they understand, even more importantly, they understand their role in getting there. So it's not just, yeah, we've got a goal, we want to get to these milestones, fully digital, real estate operating platform, whatever. They understand what their role is, even if they're in communications or in marketing and they're not directly involved in development. They understand what their role is and why we're going the direction we're going.
That's great stuff. Well, I'm gonna give you a summary of what I've just heard, and you can check me here to check my listening skills. But I think there's some great stuff in here for all of us. I'll do it in reverse order because I think you ended in the corporate world, right? Or any team, any organization. It doesn't matter if it's a sports team. It's alignment, clarity, and communication. And then I love the fact that you're talking about walking the talk, the clear vision, optimism being such an important part as a leader, because at the end of the day, in a world full of bad news, there's some good stuff happening.
And we hire CFOs to be the pessimists.
That is true. They don't believe anything unless they see the cost, right? But the optimism. And then I love what you said about the planning. You know what? It's good. You build the battle plan, but it's the battlefield that determines the adjustments.
No plan survives encounter with the enemy.
What is it Mike Tyson said? Everybody's got a plan until he gets punched in the nose. But I love what you said there about, you've got to have a plan to organize your thought, because you can't lead with that. You can't have clarity. You can't have communication. You can't have alignment. But at the end of the day, you can't sink on that ship if it's the wrong plan. You got to pivot. And then I love what you said about, obviously, the courage to make decisions. And that's, as leaders, at the end of the day, the rubber meets the road. I don't know about you. As CEO, there's few decisions I have to make. But sometimes they're mission critical. It's just, that's my decision to make. It's nobody else's decision to make. And sometimes it does take courage to make that decision, especially if the tea leaves are working against you, or even other people don't believe in it. And then I love what you said about the empathy, courage again to act against the odds, and then take the time to make the decision, because I think that's so important, especially in such a reactive world. I'll often, there's a couple of things. One of my mentors said, he said, you know what, measure 3 times, cut once for the big stuff. And I think in a world that's so reactive, and many people here, they're dealing with clients who are emotional, they're reactive with, my offer didn't get accepted, and all the details that come with it. I think, for the big stuff, it's such great words of wisdom to say, and especially in a world where people are in a panic. They don't need to be in a panic, might need to be in a hurry. But I just love that. That's a great combination of a corporate, direction, but also on an individual basis. But let me ask you this:
any realtor,
what's that?
Sorry, Dermot. I was just going to say, any realtor who's ever fired a client understands the difficulty, the courage it takes to do something that's against all your instincts. Yet, for the people I know, I've talked to, who've had these big battles over firing a client, it's always been the right thing to do, but it's tough.
It is tough. But I think it's when you boil it down to, as you say, when you take the time to make the decision, and it's not just the intellectual, it's a guttural thing, right? It's like, no matter what way I play this out, this person's just not a fit for me. And that could be the same with a broker who's got somebody in their office. It's just like, hey, not a bad person, just a bad fit. The client, not a bad person, but just a bad fit for my business. And I think
particularly if they're really important to you economically. Yeah, I applaud brokers who have made the tough decision to ask a cancerous member of their sales team to, you know, find other opportunities that are a better fit for their practice than in their brokerage, and took the economic hit as a result for the greater good.
Yeah, no, it's great. I talked to an agent here recently. She's a new agent. She really needs the commission check. But this client is just, you know, messing her around. And it's just not worth the hassle or the energy. And what we say at Buffini Company is the worst person to get a referral from is a jackass. So don't send them to the competition. Send them somewhere else. But no, that's really great stuff. And it's funny that you've attached a lot of your lessons to movies, because I tell you what I've found is that there's a lot of movies that we watch. And the reason I asked this question, by the way, and for those of you, you know, here's why I'm asking the question, is because sometimes we do need a role model. Sometimes it's in a movie, sometimes it's a story. And when you watch those stories and watch those movies, you'll see what resonates with you, especially when you're trying to determine your own leadership style. What do I value? You could be the George Patton, or you could be the Gandhi. You know, maybe you're both. But that's it. It's a great answer. Really great stuff in there, Phil. I love it. How would you describe your own leadership style? Is it a mixture of all of the above?
Yeah, you know what? There's strengths and weaknesses. One of the things I've come to realize over the years is there are certain aspects of leadership that are consistent and needed across the entire spectrum. So you have to be competent at just about everything. Some things you can hire for, but you have to be. Take numbers, for example. It's hard to run a real estate practice or a corporation if you don't have an understanding of numbers in any business. But you don't have to be an expert. Some CEOs are. They were accountants and they're growing up, but a lot aren't. A lot come from sales. A lot come from call it more people oriented or charismatic or follow me into the desert backgrounds like my own. And then you can hire for it, and but you still have to be competent, basic level. So personally, I am, despite what my team and my friends would think, I'm a structural thinker. You know, I have a degree in computer science. I like programs. I like it when, you know, A plus B equals C. So I like it when models all fit together. But from a personality standpoint, I'm a people person. So that was never going to be a career for me. I stayed an engineer for just a few years at the beginning of my IBM career, and I moved off very quickly into people and leadership roles, which give me my jollies. So definitely, I like to be out front. I like to model the way. I'm very immersive with my people. You know, I started a motorcycling club, the Royal LePage Riding Club. We've got a President's Cup, which I've invited you to a few times, which is a Ryder Cup style event where we bring teams from across the country and we play a team competition of golf. What are you seeing here? Themes, right? I'm going scuba diving in the Great Lakes in a couple of weeks with a group of my agents. What you see is I've got ADD. I love to focus on a million different things, and I find ways to find joy with it, with my people, to get out, mix with them, and really wildly different people. I'm going on a charity hike for our foundation in the British Columbia Mountains in August. I can tell you the people that are on that, the crunchy granola types, are definitely not the ones that are putting the leather jackets on and riding riding Harleys. Totally different worlds. I love them all. I just wish I had 72 hours in every 24-hour period so I could get out there and work with them. I love that strategic planning process. I love getting a group of smart people in the room and brainstorming and coming up with ideas on how we can better deliver value to consumer clients and to our frontline practitioners, our agents. That I come home and I'm just on a high, right? And my wife, who's much more even, sort of rolls her eye, goes, "Oh God, it's going to be a very loud supper time tonight."
Yeah.
So anyway, a few
awesome.
insights.
Well, I mean, I just want to describe there to from what I've seen, being around the real estate industry for 25 years now, is that's the perfect combination of a successful real estate company, brokerage, or as an agent, where there's a structure to operate from that's predetermined. We do these things. We know why we do them. There's clarity. It's all people.
Yeah.
The ability to interact, the ability to resolve conflict, the ability to ask referrals and promote. And then ultimately, which people love in this industry, is to have fun.
Yep.
And I know that you've made it fun. And he plays a mean guitar, folks. I've seen him on stage. But I think there are three powerful combinations and ingredients as an organization, as I said, as a brokerage, as individuals. Yeah, I've also heard
you triggered something for me. Just if I
Sure.
quickly, when you talk about retention's key. If you're a team leader, retaining a member of your team. If you're a broker owner, broker manager, retaining the agents in your brokerage. If you don't do the great job, if you don't deliver the goods, if you don't get them paid on time, if you don't not make mistakes, or use a double negative, in servicing their clients, they have a right to leave. But if you have a personal relationship with them, they give you another chance, right? They come to you and they say, "Listen, I really like you, but you're screwing up." So you say, "How do I make it better?" If you don't have that human to human connection, you never get the second chance. You don't even know they're gone. They're just gone. And I know our frontline agents, they sometimes make mistakes, right? They don't get back to someone who's really urgently needing them to get back to them. If they develop that trust, that personal relationship, their client gives them another chance. If not, they hear about it when they see another agent's lawn sign go up on their previous client's property. So relationships are important, but they can't get the job done alone. You also have to deliver the goods.
For sure, and the professionalism but the grace that comes with having the relationship. The other thing is, there's no saying, and I think this is what I think you've done an excellent job of, is you're the CEO, you're the president, you've got to go before the board, you're the guy who's responsible, but you also have that relational ability, which is very, very unique. And a lot of people operate, there's an old saying, especially in parenting, that rules without relationship equals rebellion. And what I'm hearing you say is, there's another one that says, if you build rapport and develop relationships, you'll have revenue.
Right.
So I love what you said there. You also, one of the things I heard you say a long time ago is that participation is a critical piece of leadership.
Yeah,
and
it's true. Not everybody has to be. Ginny Romani, I think her name was, the CEO of IBM, who was the very first CEO who gave up her membership at Augusta National. I know, Dermot, you and I would be aghast that such a thing could happen. She didn't golf. And it was the right thing to do for the company, for her personally, even though from the founding of Augusta National, a century ago now, IBM CEOs had always been a member of that, probably one of the toughest memberships to get in the world. But she said, "No, that's not me." Now, she was still, even by people who were super keen golfers, it didn't mean that she couldn't be a great leader. And she was and is. So you don't have to do everything. You can't be all things to all people, but I think you have to be available to all people, and you have to have the empathy to listen to concerns, even if it requires kind of a leap through the space-time continuum to understand where they're coming from. A young single mother, and you're a male leader. That's something that's really challenging. Someone of a different ethnic background that's encountered racism within your company, and you have to put your hat on as a white male that says, "Okay, I need to understand things from his or her perspective, even though it's a different perspective from mine. And leadership requires that all the time. Just an out-of-body experience where you can see the challenges that your people are encountering, even if you have not been there.
For sure. Well, I mean, the first word you said was empathy, and that's the pure definition of empathy. You know, the other thing is, and people make bits of this, and it's when we coach somebody, one of the things is where you spend your time and who you spend your time with. You know, and I want to give you the answer, but I should ask you the question. You know, you have all these opportunities to participate. How do you prioritize your time as a leader to know where to spend your time and not to get burnt out in the process? Because when you're a people person, and
you're bang on.
It's very easy to get burned by
it. It's critical that you don't just do the things you like to do. We know that even in our personal lives, right? If what you like to do is sit by the pool and drink beer, and you don't like cleaning the house, you know, things will eventually look really bad for you in the neighborhood. So you have to do the things that have to be done. But I think there's time. One of the things I've encouraged during COVID, during the pandemic, is that people, for example, take vacation, that they take the time. And this is really important for our frontline real estate leaders who have been so busy right through the winter. There was no break, right? It's the COVID catalyst created month after month of relentless work. They need to take the time to do things that make sense to them. Now, they can also be leveraged for their practice, for their business. So for example, when you put on an event that is for your charity and you raise money doing something you love, like hosting a golf tournament or something, you're combining, you're doing the social philanthropic thing you know corporations do and clients value, and you're doing something you love. So you're giving yourself a break, like working out or eating the right food. We need to do things for ourselves to sharpen our own saws, to learn, to get better. And at the same time, if you can, I think realtors and people in this industry by nature are jugglers. I sometimes get asked, what's the definition of a great realtor? How do you predict one? And I say, you know, it's not what you might think. It's not that big personality who's a great salesperson on the outside. I'd say one of the most important things is organizational skills, the ability to keep a lot of balls in the air at once, because it's a really busy time. And we can help this way with systems and technology, but it's important to focus your time, you know, on the opportunities that are real, not just the ones that are easy.
Well, I appreciate the advertisement for Buffini and Company. Phil, thank you so much. I didn't have to do it, but no, that's great. You're so right. It's managing the time and the priorities, but that's some great advice there too. And obviously as a leader, encouraging people as the leader, giving them permission to say, go take a vacation, go take your time, be better for yourself. You'll be better for your clients. You'll be better for the company, and you model on it.
Absolutely. Take the time to upgrade your skills, even though you're so busy.
I'm going to ask you one more question, and then I think we'll open it up for some questions. I know we've got a bunch of people on here who've got some questions, but let me ask you this, because you've also led south of the border. So you're in Toronto, you've got Canada, but you've also led organizations in the United States. Is there any differences in leading? Is there a different priority in how you rearrange the elements, the ingredients, or are people and they need to be led the same way, or is there any differences?
Yeah, good question. The businesses across North America are more similar than they are different. So I'd start with that. And the people management is the same. The first difference is Canada is geographically bigger than the United States, but 1/10 the population. So you've got to get your head around the fact that there, are, I guess probably I'm thinking about our Chicago market back when we ran, which now Berkshire Hathaway in Chicago. And that would have probably constituted a quarter of the Canadian population. So you have a huge concentration of humanity in America. you can be successful with 1% market share, and that's enough that you can run a successful, good-sized company. Canada, you need kind of 10% market share to be a going concern. So a lot of startup style businesses that can flourish with a little bit of market share in America, they just don't make it north of the border. Some of the other things that are different on the surface, but when you peel back they're not that different. About 20%, 23% of our population are French speaking. So I speak French, not that well, but I speak French, and it's part of what I do. But increasingly, for example, in your part of the world, an Anglo-born, English-speaking business leader might be inclined to learn Spanish, right? It's good for business, good for people leadership, even if it's not required by law, which it is in Canada and Quebec. So there's more similarities. You're a much more litigious nation. One thing I will say, when I looked at our brokerages in California in particular, the number of lawyers on staff and the percentage of our costs or a budget that we spent in litigation was mind-blowing. Literally, Dermot, 100 times higher than in, say, Toronto or Vancouver. We just don't sue each other the way you guys do. So, there are similarities and there are differences.
So here's what I just heard there. Number one is I heard the challenge for me to go and learn Spanish. Okay, exactly. Just reading between the lines.
You can already speak Irish and English.
Well, as an Irishman, I'm trying to master English first, Phil, okay? And then I'll think about Spanish. Secondarily is I think the Canadians are similar to the Irish, where they might not go to the courts, they'll go to the bar and resolve their problems. So maybe it's something we need to consider down here south of the border. Hey, listen, great stuff, Phil. I'm not surprised. I got notes and notes. I'm sure people here have here too. But let's do this. Maybe John, have you got some questions you want Phil to answer? And if I can help out on them, I'm happy to do so too. So we'll kick it back to you, John.
Well, that was fantastic, fellas, and great job by both of you. There are many questions. We'll lead with one that is right along the same discussion points you were just talking about. What's the future of real estate? What are your predictions? Let's start with Phil. What are your predictions of what you see as change happening in the near future and suggestions to combat or be part of these changes? Phil?
Yeah, the first thing I say to young people, I'm on the board of one of the big Canadian universities, and it gives me an opportunity to speak to classes, to students, and I love it. Most of them just say, how can I get a job? But that aside, a rising tide raises all ships. We've all heard that one. And what it really means is when things are good, everybody gets a bit of that good. Now, some people get more, some people get less, but it's nice. We're in a rising tide industry. If you look at the next 10 to 15 years in North America, household formation is going to drive more and more need for roofs over people's heads, and that's the business we are in. So it's great to be in an industry that just structurally is strong and growing. In terms of our way of addressing the need to help people, find a roof over their head, I'm a strong believer in the power in professional services. Remember, I said at the beginning that I really see us in the fee for service, the professional services business, not selling houses, selling our advice and counsel. When you're in the advice and counsel business, technology is going to make us superhuman. It's going to make us be able to do more than we ever dreamed possible, faster with less mistakes, and the mouthpiece, the face, will be a human being. So I am not worried that Zillow and their instant offers or Open Door, any of the FSBO style offerings will take a material portion of this business. It just isn't. It doesn't line up with what I've seen during my career with the way the professional services business develops over time. advice and counsel from human beings will remain the gold standard for purchasing the largest asset in a family's life.
Dermot, can you add to that?
Well, I think that's great. I think that's the optimistic view and looking ahead with the binoculars, Phil, and I totally agree. I'll tell you, if you want to write down this date, June 28th, Brian is doing a webinar called Bold Predictions with Lawrence Yun. And he's basically going to read the tea leaves. And I hate it because he's generally right. But it's great information, what you need to know right now. The second thing is, my mentor said to me, he said, you plan and prepare in peacetime, you bleed less and more. And the agents and the brokers and the teams that are thinking ahead now and investing in themselves, what one thing do I need to invest in? What one thing do I need to learn? What information do I need to communicate to my agents so that they're equipped to win? What information do my agents need to communicate to their consumers so they can say to them, you're in good hands? Because we're in a time when we're drowning in information and we're starving for truth. And if you're a trusted source, which you must be now, you must be a trusted source. How are you going to build trust? You build trust, Phil said it, through relationship, through building relationship, through serving a service. And then it's a contact sport. And at the end of the day, the internet only, people contact it rarely, reaches out and gives you a hug and reassures you. In fact, it does the opposite. So that's the piece I'd add to it. So get some help, reinvest in yourself. As Phil said, the industry is not going anywhere. In fact, we've got an increasing population and we just need more inventory to sell. But skills, professionalism, and being a trusted source, you'll never have to have a worry in any business, never mind real estate.
Spot on. Yeah, I think you're both spot on. Now, I'd like to move to a series of questions. I'll try to lop them into one, but it crosses three major groups that are watching us today, and I think it personifies our industry, which is made up of brokerage owners, executives, managers, top producing agents, and the other super group of top producing teams and the organizations that they have built. So there's a lot of questions surrounding teams, and they include the growing pains of starting a team, the sequence for hiring into your teams, tips for recruiting into those teams, and retaining good people into their teams, maintaining them. Also inspiring, motivating a team forward, and the development and training of team members. Now, each of those could be their own session, but is there an overall response you have, both of you, to this interest in teams? And I must say, we're seeing this growth of teams is not something that we should look at lightly. It is blossoming. Let's go with Phil first.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're seeing more people embark on the real estate team journey for two reasons. One, I think it's fulfilling if you want to be a leader. You become a business within a business within a business, and you are leading people. And if I look back on my career, it's one of the things that's given me the greatest joy is to see people develop and succeed. So just the quality of work, your work life, which we spend so much of our life at, can be more fulfilling as a team leader. So it makes me very happy. And as a younger agent, someone who's looking to get started, teams or real estate brokerages and real estate companies have gotten larger over time out of economic necessity. And the ability to provide personal mentorship like you get from a Buffini coach is challenging. And the team environment gives you that kind of start. And I guess the final thing is, despite the fact, we've got a great big company, thousands and thousands of people, it can be really lonely. It's a lonely business, particularly during COVID. The thing about teams is it provides something like a family, a business family that you can lean on, that you can laugh and cry and celebrate with. So I'm very happy for them. It's not for everybody, and you shouldn't think it's for everybody, but I'm glad it's a growing part of our industry.
Yeah. Well, I'll just maybe add on a little bit. We've been coaching teams for about 15 of our 25 years in the coaching business. So we actually just launched 3 weeks ago a teams coaching program that's really specific to where people are in their career path, where teams are. But I will tell you this, one of our first jobs we do when we coach somebody who has a team, I say to somebody, making babies is fun. Raising children is hard. So in our coaching, what we're going to do is evaluate if somebody should even have a team. Why did they make the decision? Was it, oh, well, such and such, well, I don't know what to do, and I'm just going to do, that's what's in the marketplace. And we have a lot of people who have teams who shouldn't have teams. So there's an evaluation to step back and say, do I even want a team? And so we're going to, what we do is in the coaching process, say, let's step back for a second. Are you better with others, or are you better without others? And there's only two reasons you should have a team. One, if you got a surplus of referrals, and number two is you like leading people and you're willing to do the work to lead people. And if you can check the box on those two things, and the third part is do the work, remind yourself of the first part, and then do the work to support the second part. And if the answer is yep, great, let's proceed. In our coaching programs, a lot of times we coach people out of a team. We say you're better off being a sole trader with an assistant. Life's going to be so much better for you. So at the end of the day, easy to make a baby, hard to raise a child. And I think that's the advice we'd give teams, like measure 3 times, count once. And if you want to have the team, you want to have the kids, you better get ready for the journey, So there's wet diapers
Dermot,
that come with them.
that's going to be a valuable addition to your broad portfolio of education. If we haven't already signed up for it, I'm going to be talking to the team
I will
today.
call you right after this call. And I know your American Express card number. I have it on file here.
Phil, you'll be in great hands, obviously. And I think all of this, these questions that are coming in, I think there's another, before we run out of time, there's another one I think is important. And Phil, you and I both come out of the corporate relocation world, which was completely rocked over the last couple of decades. Okay, completely changed. But there's another theme that leaders in today's world have got to recognize, I believe, to be successful, and that is the changes we're now facing as far as the new hybrid and virtual work environment. And there's nowhere but greater than real estate where this has had an impact. Can you tell us your thoughts about how folks should better navigate this new normal, and what impact will it have in the future on their business?
Yeah, first of all, we're a big commercial brokerage in Canada, and we've had a tough 18 months in the office leasing business. It's been tough. Retail, industrial's been great, right? So the things did change during this time. But one thing I am absolutely convinced of is the fleeing to the suburbs and what we call the exurbs and the country for work, and that being a permanent thing is vastly oversold. I believe the vitality of our cities and the ability to bring people together to get work done is going to make winners in the future, and those who walk away from it will find themselves slipping behind. In our research over the last year and a quarter, productivity has been fine. This is the thing that gets talked about a lot. Productivity is fine. We're getting lots of work done, but creativity has suffered. Bringing people together physically, letting them talk over each other, catching the body language of the person whose brow is furrowed in the corner of the room. All of that is tough on Zoom. It's just really, really difficult. And I believe it's possible. And by the way, real estate professionals, they should do initial showings of properties, not the initial meet, but they should do showing virtually in the future because it's efficient. It's a great way to get through a lot of properties and basically qualify your clients. So I hope we don't lose everything. Virtual open houses should be part of your portfolio. I think doing 4 a day, if you do it, is way better than doing 1 a day. So let's not walk away from that altogether. But for running our brokerages, for running your team, for running corporations, I believe we'll be back in the office with more flexibility. Hybrid will be a word that gets thrown out a lot in 2022. And I believe we'll settle into a normal that'll allow us to more efficiently mitigate the need to travel, more efficiently make use of our days, and make our lives more enjoyable. So I'm a Pollyanna type person, an optimist. I believe we're going to come out of the pandemic a happier, more productive people, but it doesn't mean we're all going to be working from our basements.
Yeah.
Dermot.
Yeah, I think that's bang on, and just what Phil described. We got 240 people working at Buffini Company. Our coaching has always been done remotely, but I think like what we said earlier, if you're an all or nothing, I think you're in trouble. If we're all back in, we're all going to be working, you're going to lose people. You're not going to hire people. People aren't going to show up for the job interview. If you're all remote, you're going to miss that creativity Phil is talking about, and also the cultural piece. And the synergy that happens. Community happens when there's connection and proximity. And people have been locked up, they've been locked away, and they're desirous of it. But as Phil said, there's something magical when you get people together. So for us, not all jobs are created, not all roles are created equal. Some people can stay in a dark room somewhere and program away, and we can feed them pancakes under the door, no problem. They never have to see daylight. And then other parts, they need to come together. So we're staying focused on our goals and really flexible on how we get there. And then looking at our people to say, you know what, we don't mind you working remotely, but we need you in these couple of days for these meetings and vice versa. So I think it's focused and flexible. And as Phil said, I think we're going to come out of this with more arrows in our quiver to be more flexible and responsive. And if you're hiring people, you're going to have to make those things available, because otherwise they're just not, they want both.
I agree. For retention, attraction and retention, we're going to have to listen to the skills, the people that we need, and adapt as businesses.
And one last thing I would say, Phil, is I think as a leader, you need to take the role and not allow somebody else to determine that in isolation. You need to reach out to people and say, you know what, Dermot, the way you work and how you are, I need you to be in here. So you can be prescriptive with your people. You can lead them and say, I know that's what you want, but what I want and what I need to get the most out of you and to contribute most towards the team and accomplishing the goals, I need you here Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 2 hours or whatever it might be. But you have the opportunity to lead people and not leave them to their own devices either.
So not one size will fit all. However, I think you said it earlier, Phil, and Dermot says this quite a bit when I talk to him, and that is to be a great leader, you have to be a great listener, and you have to understand the skill sets of the individuals that you're talking with and helping, or as in Dermot's case, help mentoring and coaching, and your case as well, Phil, to grow the organization. So some of the things that we've heard today and some of the questions that are coming in are, first of all, they want to know where they can view 12 Angry Men starring Henry Fonda. And I will tell them, just simply search it on YouTube and you'll find it. It's a wonderful film. Great suggestion, Phil. There's another thing that I want our audience to know. There's a reason why Phil is not on Shark Tank, because there's already a quota of 40% of the stars from Shark Tank are from Canada. Okay,
that's true, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, Kevin O'Leary and Robert Herjavec. But I think it's important for all of our audience to recognize the incredible leadership that's north of our border and in Canada and multinational, running real estate organizations just like here. I'd like to throw out a final question, and that is, when you talk about optimism and planning, okay, going forward, let me ask, where does technology fit in to your organization and to Dermot as far as coaching folks of their technological needs in this new environment?
Yeah, a great question to finish with, John. to me, I like to boil things down and simplify them. And one of the things I say to my team as a starting point is no one's ever going to actually buy a house, at least in our model, from a computer. They're not going to buy the services to buy a house from a computer. So the sooner we can get people off technology, consumer clients, and talking to one of our people, the higher the likelihood we're going to convert that person into a client that'll generate revenue for the business. So we invest millions into technology, and we want people to leave it as soon as possible. So that's rule number one. The second rule is technology for while we say it's got to be abandoned. We can't do tech because it's cool. Elon Musk can do that. He can just put cool things in his vehicles and people will buy the product because it's neat, it's interesting, it's different. But in our business, it has to add value. So I have a simple acid test. Does it increase productivity? I.e., can we push more leads down a funnel? Can we introduce our people to more consumer clients than otherwise? Can we allow them to do more work and generate more transactions in a given bit of time? So that's the revenue side. Or does it reduce their costs? Does it reduce the time it takes to get a job done and therefore costs? We call it cycle time. So reduce cycle time. Does it eliminate errors? Does it take errors off the table that frustrate our people and our consumer clients? So if it answers yes to those questions, great. Off to the races we go, and we put in place. We launched during COVID something called RLP Sphere, which is Canada's first end-to-end digital real estate platform, and it's been amazingly successful at helping our people generate more productivity and reduce the time they take to get their jobs done. But the people themselves are still the ones who create the personal relationship with consumer clients and turn the magic into revenue for the corporation. So we can't lose sight of the fact that we need highly skilled people to interface with our consumer clients, or no technology in the world is going to help. If that makes sense.
It does, very well stated. Dermot, I'm bringing it back to you for your thoughts on this and some closing remarks because we're running against the time.
Well, I'll try and be quick, but I think Phil said it right. He used the word productivity. In our world of coaching and training people, at the end of the day, technology actually creates a ton of more distraction than productivity. And so I always like to look at definitions. So when we do anything, you got clarity. Phil talked about it earlier, clarity and alignment, and then you go to work, right? So what does technology actually mean? It's the skills, methods, and processes used to achieve goals. In our world, if the technology does not support our clients in the achievement of their personal or professional goals, we're not interested. We created a CRM because our clients were like, I don't know which one to use. We're like, we're not a technology company. We didn't try to be a technology company. We said, well, why would we do it? Because they're trying to achieve their goals. Okay, we just provide a system. We put our inside of technology to simplify, so they don't have to worry about it, so they can focus on their customer and achieve their goals. And if technology does not provide that in your personal or professional life, help you achieve your goals, don't even look at it. And at the end of the day, it's distracting more people than it's helping. We've got less attention span now than a goldfish. A goldfish has the attention span of 9 seconds. In 2012, we were at 12 seconds, and as 2019, we were down to 7. I think we're at 5. I am anyway. But anyway, I think that's the key with technology. Phil said it around productivity for us, the achievement of goals, and that's all I know.
Well, gentlemen, I've had the incredible pleasure to be part of this, but more importantly, to listen to two dynamic leaders who are running fantastic organizations. And I know the readers and the followers today learned a heck of a lot. So with that, I'd like to thank both of you for being part of this, but I also want everyone who tuned in to set their calendar and get ready, because August 24th, we're all going to be back together. We have a special guest that Dermot is going to be interviewing and eliciting some great information from an old friend, J.B. Goodwin of J.B. Goodwin Realtors in Texas. And I'm counting to get some down-home spun wisdom from J.B., just
Awesome.
like that from up north of the border today.
Yep.
So with that, thank you. Thank you, Phil, for being part of this. And
Yeah.
Dermot, your series is fantastic. Thank you.
Well, it's all down to having great guests. So thanks, Phil, for the lessons today. John, thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful conversation. Great to see you both, even virtually.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Phil.
God bless.